The city of Valparaiso, or Paradise Valley, is around 120 kilometres from the capital of Santiago De Chile, on the Pacific coast. The most important harbour city in South America has a long history. Today it boasts a modern, ever-expanding container harbour. Indeed, with the upgrading of its harbours, Chile is hoping to become the most important transshipment centre in the whole of Latin America. The city's development was, from the beginning, closely connected with its harbour. Its history began in 1536, when Spaniard Juan de Saavedra first set eyes on the bay. At that time, the Chango Indians survived here by fishing. The hills were forested and honey palm trees grew along the coast. So de Saavedra named this place Valparaiso. In 1542, Pedro de Valdivia designated the city as a harbour port for the upcoming city of Santiago, that subsequently became the capital city. A tiny harbour was built that contained a small mole, a church, and a few huts. Goods were carried through the water. But it really began to develop at the beginning of the 18th century. Cargo ships brought goods from Spain and returned loaded with gold and silver. Whale hunters stopped here on the way to the Arctic, as well as those ships that had circumnavigated Cape Horn and the Magellan Straits. For all of them, Valparaiso was the first large harbour in which it was possible to rest and replenish food supplies. It was an idyllic place with pelicans, gulls and seals welcoming the arriving seafarers with varying degrees of curiosity. Its strategic location brought the harbour city much power and good fortune. A narrow stretch of land along the bay became the city centre. Today, the Monumento de los Héroes de Iquique is a reminder of the heroes of a sea battle during the Saltpetre War. In 1910, the headquarters of the Chilean Navy were built on the location of the old Intendencia that dates back to colonial times. An impressive building. It was once the seat of the governor of the province, an administrative centre, and finally, in 1930, summer seat of the President of Chile. Due to all these factors, in 2003, UNESCO designated the city as a World Heritage Site. The city's 15 remaining escalators. The cabins are pulled along steep rails. "45 hills frame the bay, and each of them is covered with a number of tiny wooden huts. Here, an efficient means of transport is essential. Since the middle of the 19th century, escalators have rattled up and down the steep hills of the harbour city. They're lovingly known as Ascensores. The descending cabin pulls the ascending cabin by way of a steel cable that is drawn over a large wheel situated at the upper station. In earlier times, they were powered by steam, today by electricity. Over time, a tangled confusion of alleys and corridors has developed on the hills. Many of the entrances to the escalators are situated within buildings or at the end of various corridors, and secured by wrought iron turnstiles such as the Ascensor Concepcion. It's still a reliable form of transport. Hundreds of colourful buildings extend over the hills. From above the bay, it's like a vast amphitheatre that contains a busy harbour. When the trading of wheat, copper and saltpetre began, many Europeans settled here. In 1559, down on the narrow plan at the waterside, the first chapel was built. In the 19th century, it was further developed and extended. In 1837, the main church of Iglesia La Matriz was inaugurated, a white, shining building that is no longer situated on the shoreline. The city's golden age lasted for only 100 years. In 1906, an earthquake devastated the city, and 6,000 people died in the ruins. The next blow occurred in 1914. The Panama Canal was inaugurated, and suddenly Valparaiso became cut off from the international trading routes. But the people persevered, rebuilt their houses, fishermen returned to work, and the trading companies set about developing new business ideas. A positive attitude helped the people to gain new strength and make a fresh start. Splendid wall paintings have been created on the city's various terraces. These murales were painted by the students of the Universidad Católica. Colourful houses on the steep hills add to the unique flair of this fine city, and almost every hill contains inhabitants of different roots. Numerous steep steps lead to residential areas that have also been painted in artistic style, the most beautiful of which is known as the Open Air Museum. There were once 29 escalators, but today only 15 are still in operation. From each hill, the view across the sea of houses is quite remarkable. This old city on the sea was once the pearl of the Pacific, a city of hills and escalators, Valparaiso, Chile's pride and joy.